So, just got out of a conversation with Jeff. He straightened my head up a lot, actually. I don't know if he meant to or not, but I am addicted to weed. And that's okay right now because I know that I can get off of weed if it's what I want. And at some point, there's going to be a job or a family or what have you that's going to give me the reason to get off of it. And being that it's one of the least addictive substances out there, I just have to get off of it. And I'll do it. But right now, I want it in my life because I've got nothing better to do. Can't go back to work yet. Can't really exercise until I see my back doctor. Right now, what I need in my life is something just to keep me occupied and keep my mind off of the other drugs. And right now, that is my friends and a drug. But I need to cut it down to less usage. So, sorry, just taking a puff off my e-cig. So basically, I just need to have it once in a while. I'm going to cut myself down to once or twice a week. And anytime I have a panic attack, I'll keep a little around of the good stuff just to calm me down and make me relax. The sativas right now are wrong for me because they're making me more hyper. And that's the last thing I need. So I'm going to look for some good, strong indica that just puts me right to sleep. But I won't rely on it. Because relying on a substance like that is a bad idea because I'll tell you the truth, I love my weed. And I love to smoke it. I love the feeling. I enjoy it. That's the only thing I don't like about Jeff, I'll be honest. He's like an uncle to me. But, and for that matter, his son Springer as well. They sit there and drink alcohol every night. And then they tell me that, the weed is so bad for me. And I understand totally where they're coming from. They've seen a lot of people's lives appear to be destroyed by weed. The thing is, having been addicted to it psychologically, not physically, but psychologically, the weed never made me do anything I really regret. And all the effects, the memory loss, stuff like that, as soon as I stop, they're going to all go away. If I sit and smoke cigarettes, chain smoke, I'm going to get lung cancer. I'm going to die early. I'm going to have emphysema. I'm going to have heart problems, blah, blah, blah. Even if I chain smoke weed all the time every day, as soon as I stopped, yes, there would be an increased risk of lung cancer with that much smoking, but it's a hell of a lot less than cigarettes. And scientific evidence is out there to prove that. Now, I know for a fact, for example, my mom, there's no talking to her about it. Just because it's the safest substance I can have right now, she doesn't care. Because she doesn't like it. That's just how it is. And it's a shame because I know people say that people's lives have been ruined by weed, but as far as I'm concerned, those people ruin their own lives. If you choose to be lazy and don't do anything with your life, well, then that's your own choice. And if you're happy, if you really can say, I'm happy, then who am I and who is anybody else to judge their happiness? Because happiness really is in the eye of the beholder. And so the way I see it is when somebody says, oh, this person ruined their life, why? Because they're not rich? Because they're not famous? Because all they did with their life was be happy and work an easy job, and just be happy, who am I to judge them for that? I don't want to do that with my life, but some people do, and if that's what they want, then go ahead. Now, when it comes to children, I do know people that have continued to smoke weed after they've had children, and that I disagree with. If you are still using any substance as a crutch, you're not ready to have children. Plain and simple. Now, if it's an accident, that's one thing. But if you choose to have children while you're still ingesting any sort of substance, and I mean as a crutch and not as an enjoyment. If you can enjoy the weed once in a while and you have kids, I say that's a hell of a lot better than having alcohol around. Personally. Now, there are going to be people out there who disagree with me, and I understand where they're coming from. It's just my personal opinion that having weed once a week versus having alcohol once a week, the weed's a hell of a lot less harmful. I guess my point is, it's the theory of harm reduction. Why do I smoke an electronic cigarette instead of regular cigarettes? Am I still getting my nicotine? Yes. But I'm not going to get lung cancer, emphysema, blah, blah, blah. Now, sure, there's some people out there saying it's dangerous, and I've heard people say, oh, e-cigarettes are worse than regular cigarettes for you. Bullshit. We know that cigarettes are one of the worst things you can do to yourself. And it just strikes me as so hypocritical that people who consume on a habitual basis substances that are far more harmful than weed are going to sit there and tell me how bad weed is for me. Sorry, but sometimes I know that being young and thinking I'm invincible, blah, 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 I know all about that. But at the same time, when scientific evidence points to the fact that a substance is, relatively speaking, compared to other substances, safe, and I'm making my own decision to smoke it because I enjoy it, who is somebody that enjoys alcohol to tell me that I'm wrong to smoke weed? I just don't see the logic in that. I don't tell people they're wrong. Hey, if you can have a drink every night and that's all you have, good for you. I say, that's not going to hurt you. But don't tell me that I can't enjoy my weed once in a while when I want it. Now, is smoking weed for the fact of smoking weed a good thing? Definitely not. Because then you lose the enjoyment of it. However, smoking weed to enjoy the feeling, that's the whole point. Everybody's got to have a release once in a while of all the stress that builds up in modern day life. That's my opinion. And you should choose something that's the least harmful of what you can do. But you have to take life one step at a time. If you don't feel like you're ready to take on everything in life substance-free, then you're probably not. Just follow your gut. As long as you have a plan and you're serious about eventually getting off of addiction altogether, then I say more power to you. Isn't that the whole idea behind medication? Is something to take the edge off so you can deal with everything? I mean, hell, I'll admit it. I was addicted to Vicodin. I had a back surgery. I had a bad back, but you know what? And this is what people miss. I was taking the Vicodin responsibly for a year and a half. Did I go a little overboard at the end? Yes, because I truthfully enjoyed the feeling of it. And I wanted to just enjoy it before I gave it up. And you know what? What everybody misses is I gave up the Vicodin cold turkey. And you know what? It fucking sucked. But I didn't take any more. And I could have. Hell, I'm sure I could get some if I wanted it, but I don't want it. I'm past that point in my life where I need it as a crutch. But you know what? It allowed me to continue to be productive even when I felt like shit. Truthfully. Now, am I happy to be off of it? Hell yes. As a substance, it's highly addictive. It's a safe, relatively speaking, painkiller, but of course, the risks of permanent addiction or moving up to a harder substance is always there. That's why I like weed. They call it gateway drug if they want, but in my experience, stoners, like me, I'm a stoner, I'll admit it, we tend to just stick with our weed and we don't go anywhere else. Now, you could say, oh, that's because that's all you're addicted to, blah, blah, blah. Well, I say, yeah, maybe some of us are. Maybe some of us have problems in our life and we found a way to handle it. I know in my case, I have terrible social anxiety. And it's a real long story why, but I have a legitimate reason. If weed were legal for medical purposes, I guarantee you I could get a prescription for it. The point is, what's the difference between a doctor feeding me anti-anxiety meds that are highly addictive, Valium, Xanax, Ativan, you name it, that have serious side effects associated with them, versus me going out, finding some high quality, nice homegrown weed and smoking it with my friends and enjoying myself. If I want to do that, then who is anybody to tell me I can't do that? Now, I'm not saying if it interferes with your work or your life or whatever, it's bad. And weed has once in a while interfered with my life. And you know what? I made sure that I didn't do that again. One night I smoked so much, I woke up with a hangover from weed and I was still high. I chose not to go to work because working as a delivery driver, I didn't feel that I was safe to drive feeling still high the next morning. But you know what? I didn't smoke that way anymore. I cut myself down. You know what? The gravity bongs were making me feel like shit, so I stopped using them. Now, I'm not saying I'm a high and mighty saint or anything like that. None of us are. I'm just saying everybody at heart is the same. We're just little people in a big world handling it in our own way. And every single one of us has our own problems, some worse than others. And that's the whole idea behind medication. Some people say, oh, you should do it completely the natural way. Well, some people can't handle that. I'd like to think I could handle it, but I'm choosing not to handle it without any help because there's nothing wrong with needing help. That's how you get better. If you can recognize that, hey, I've got a problem and I need help, that's being a man more than saying, oh, I don't have a problem and I can do it on my own. No. Everybody needs help once in a while. Everybody needs a crutch. I mean, why did they give you crutches when you break your leg? Oh, that's right. So you don't re-injure it. So you can function. I view medication the same way and weed the same way. Now, I'm not talking about harder drugs. I won't get into those because I personally don't approve. Well, I personally don't agree with the use of harder drugs. But that's not the point. The point is, if you break your leg, they give you a set of crutches and they put it in a cast. Does that make you less of a man? No, it doesn't. So I figure if you're going through some emotional problems or you're depressed or whatever, and smoking a little weed once in a while mellows you out and makes you feel better, now how's that any different than putting crutches and a cast on you? Just because a doctor doesn't prescribe it, you know yourself better than anybody else in the entire world. The only thing is you have to be honest with yourself. And if you feel like you need something at the very moment, and it's not going to cause you physical harm or get you arrested or anything like that, I say go for it. But just remember, always remember, it is a crutch. Anytime you use a substance of any kind to deal with a problem, it's a crutch. Well, that's the first episode of Will's 420 radio show. Hope you guys enjoyed, just venting a little bit. I will definitely try for another episode, and you guys let me know what you think. I'm a little zonked right now, so my thinking's not quite the way it should be, but yeah, there you go.